Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel for another Game Week 11 preview. Today, I'm joined by Wes, aka FPL Heisenberg, who's going to give us some tips and advice for the upcoming game week. Wes, how you doing, mate? Good to have you back on the back of another green arrow.
Yeah, very small one for me, I think, wasn't it?
Well, that doesn't matter. It's a green nonetheless, and that's all I care about.
It is, yeah. So, yeah, it was a really mixed bag week for myself. As you can see, obviously, my team on the screen, it was some bits of good luck with the likes of Taylor coming in off my bench for a 6-pointer. Obviously, he doesn't score many goals, but he got me one this week. But then some bad luck with, well, maybe some people will call it a bad decision, but Mboma on the bench over Palmer. I'm still happy with that decision watching that game. Palmer created loads of chances first half. Didn't quite work out, and then obviously Mboma got the points late on.
That is absolutely. I mean, watching that game, knowing that you've played Palmer and you've benched Mboma, that is the brutality of FPL. How are you feeling during that? I mean, that is terrible.
Yeah, fuming because obviously you watch it yourself as well. So I was watching. There was literally 3 chances Palmer created first half that if any of them go in, then the whole game's different, and Mboma maybe doesn't even go on to get his goal and assist, or Chelsea might kick on and get another, and Palmer might be involved. So yeah, it was just really frustrating, and especially Mboma obviously getting, if he gets an assist, fair enough, but then he gets a Mope's running for on goal for a tap in, but he still passed it to Mboma for the goal. So
he got tackled. Sanchez tackled him. It wasn't like the ball could have gone any Mope is just. Oh, yeah. Surely either he has to score, get taken down by Sanchez, or pass. And then none of that happens. He gets tackled and the ball just ends up going to Mboma. Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was filth. But it was one of those. I knew the risk. I bought in Palmer last week because I needed to free up some money to bring in Salah. And I could have gone really cheap and just benched that player week in, week out and just played Mboma. But, I was liking the look of Palmer. He's on penalties. He's underpriced. And I got him in. I'm going to bench him for the next few weeks because they are tough now, the next 3, but I wanted him for this week. And Mboma, the plan was to always bring him back in for this week because Mboma has West Ham at home. So, I played the rotation game. I played it the week before. You might remember where
I was literally about to say that. It worked out really well for you the week before.
Yeah. It swings and roundabouts. Yeah, part of me wishes that, it's always easy if you do have the likes of an Archer or Mubama or, in years gone by, maybe an Andreas Pereira in that slot. Or even this year, if it's just someone like, I don't know who people have got them in, like Anderson from Newcastle, or even someone like Chuck Maker, just to literally free up ultimate funds. But I think having that bench, having the flexibility to rotate, we'll always remember the times it doesn't work, but I'm still happy with that decision because of how the game went, and Palmer looked really good. So he dodged points, and Mbomo, I think he probably created one chance, he did have 2 good chances late on, obviously, and did score 1. So it's one of those. I knew the risk of benching him. Annoying, but we move on.
Let's have a look at your team for the upcoming game week. I don't know if it's worth asking you about the Watkins captaincy decision from last week, just before we do get into this week as well. Yeah. Just apart from the fact that it was unlucky, are you happy with the decision making process? Obviously, this season we started off with the kind of notion that we were going to be captaining Haaland in every single game week. That hasn't really, I guess, worked out. There's been other moves that people have done that have gained success, and Watkins clearly had a good number of chances in that game if you look at the data. So you happy with that decision?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with Villa, all their assets are priced as if the team is going to finish roughly 8th in the league again like last year. But if you look at the stats over the last, I think Emery's been in charge 32 games. There was a graphic on Match of the Day about how wins since Emery's taken over, which included a 32 game period. Villa were second for wins behind City. I think accumulated points in that time period would be like Villa would be second or third. So essentially what I'm getting at is, and Watkins, not just the team stats, Watkins himself is performing like a premium this year. So I invariably, or 96-7% of the time, will captain a premium player. But Watkins isn't priced like a premium player, but he's performing like a premium player this year. He's only, before this game, he'd only blanked once. So he's really a good source of getting at least a return in a game. And Haaland had United away. I never pegged that as a truly difficult fixture, and I thought he would do okay in that, which is why I was going between Salah, Haaland, and Watkins. But essentially, you've got to make a decision. Watkins at home to Luton was the best fixture out of the 3. But yeah, it was never me expecting Salah and Haaland to blank. I almost expect them to return in any game. But yeah, I'm happy with the decision. And if you look at it, like you say, looking at the data, it was his highest expected assists of the whole season. and his second highest XG, I think, just behind the Brighton game. And obviously, we know what he did in the Brighton game. So he got 23 points in that one, but he had a higher expected goal involvement in the Luton game. So it's one of those. It's unlucky that he didn't. Salah got 8 points. Watkins could have easily matched that. Haaland obviously destroyed it with 16 points. So yeah, I wouldn't have expected to match that from that performance. But yeah, it's just unlucky that didn't quite go my way that time.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got his stats on screen from the last game, as the viewers can see. 1.4 expected goal involvement. I mean, we already know all of this, but what is good as well is just to confirm your point on him acting or playing like a premium forward this season. Just looking at all the stats here, it's just you can see that these points aren't coming out of nowhere. They're not jammy. We've got his XG, his XA on screen. It's very, very healthy, and clearly. I mean, to be fair, we've seen non-premium players hauling against Luton at home this season. That. I mean, likes of Sterling, who was cheaper than Watkins, for example. Obviously, it can happen. Yeah. But that's okay. Let's leave that in the past. A couple of decisions to make in your team. You've already mentioned about benching Palmer. That is why I like I know I said that I don't love having 8 attackers, but when you have someone like Palmer who has this upcoming run of tough fixtures where you're happy to bench him, and you have Mbeumo, whose fixtures aren't amazing, but a decent fixture this week, then you can kind of deliberate and decide going forward. Yeah. It also allows you to keep Mbeumo, which I love for the Gameweek 14 fixture turn, where I think he's going to be a lot of people's transfer target. Yeah. Benching Palmer this week, is that nailed on?
Yeah, that one's nailed on. So It's fairly simple benching decision out of my front 8.
Sure.
And again, next week it's Palmer against City, then Newcastle. So yeah, Palmer's likely to be bench fodder for a couple of weeks, but it means that if I do pick up a Champions League or Europa League injury to someone, if Watkins is going to miss the odd game here or there or something with an injury, I'm happy enough to play Palmer in any fixture, even if it is someone like City, because you're still getting a Chelsea penalty taker, a Chelsea creative force. Seeing some other good stats about Palmer being, him and Trippier and Maddison are the ones that are making the most progressive passes and stuff like that, which is obviously, as it says, progressing the ball forward. So yeah, he's always got a good route to points there. So he might get points on my bench, but again, I'm not gonna really moan this week if he's away at Spurs. It's probably the hardest fixture out of all my front 8, and he's the cheapest. He's the one I bought in to only use sparingly. If he gets points on my bench, so be it. I'll be happy that he's in form, and he's probably going to go up in price if he gets points in these hard games. So that's simple. The benching headaches I've got this week are actually in goal and in defence.
Let's go with the goalkeeper first, because Brentford are, well, I don't know, like it's one of the, you know what, before you say who you're going to go with, I've just got the predicted points there are extremely close for Leno versus Areola. Leno at 3.5, Areola at 3.3. For me, I actually think that I'm pretty confident that I know who I'd go with here. Very confident, in fact. Are you as well?
I'm feeling relatively confident here, so I'm going to go for the home fixture against Man United with Leno.
100%.
West Ham. Areola is obviously underpriced at, he started at 4.0 because FPL thought he wasn't going to play. But essentially, he should have been priced at 4.5. A West Ham starting goalkeeper should be 4.5. So I don't view Areola as just, the cheap option that I should bench each week. I played Areola last week, I believe. And I've always planned to rotate my keepers, which again, speaking about rotation, the rotation of my keepers has worked really well since I did the wildcard in week 5. I got returns in the first sort of 3 or 4 weeks, and then Leno got a bit of an unlucky blank at home to Sheffield United.
I think it's important to kind of really accentuate that point and emphasize that, because a lot of us have struggled this season with keepers. I think I've got 1 clean sheet total in 10 game weeks, whereas you've spent a little bit more money. I mean, to be fair, it's not really that much more money given that Areola's so cheap, but you've gone for Leno to rotate, and that has accrued you a lot more points from that position than it has for the majority of managers.
Yeah, I want to say game weeks 5, 6, and 7 was like 6 points, 10 points, 6 points, or something like that. And again, the short-term rotation was particularly kind. Now it's a little bit trickier in some weeks, and this is one of them. I think when I actually did this rotation, I thought Brentford away for West Ham would probably be the fixture I chose. But obviously in recent weeks, United aren't playing well. And it's sort of the home fixture. Brentford are playing quite well again now with a good couple of wins. So yeah, and West Ham defensively are leaking goals themselves. So yeah, I don't know if I'll get it right. It's almost, I am fairly set on Leno, but I'd say it's probably, I don't know, 60-40 in his favour, something like that. I'm not like 100%, but I think I don't imagine I'll change that. yeah, like I said, it's the home fixture. They've both not got an easy game, but they've both not got like a super hard game. I think we have to classify Man United now as a team that are going to come what, sixth, seventh, eighth in the league.
If they're
And
lucky. If
Brentford,
they're lucky.
yeah, and Brentford maybe in a similar-ish position, sort of in between 10th and 6th, maybe. So yeah, I think if you swap in terms of the home and away this week, I would back Areola at home to Brentford, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree with that. I agree with that. I
yeah,
also think that I've seen, sorry to jump in, but I've seen
no, go
quite
on.
a few people saying that they're playing Areola. Obviously, they don't have a Leno as their second keeper. They have probably a Turner who is a worse
Yeah,
option. But people are kind of predicting that Areola might make a lot of saves in this game. And if they do keep a clean sheet, could be on for bonus and stuff. I don't personally see that. I don't think that Brentford, we know that Brentford don't take loads and loads of shots. We've seen Thomas Frank talking about how he only wants really like big chances, and if you look at the stats, the percentage of chances that they get that are big chances are some of the highest in the league.
yeah,
So I can't really
yeah,
see
interesting.
Areola, first of all, keeping a clean sheet. I do expect Brentford to score, and secondly, getting loads of save points. I don't see that. So I think
Yeah,
his ceiling is pretty low. Whereas
I'd agree with
Leno, I
that.
mean, we've seen him get 10, 11 points this season.
Yeah,
I reckon he has a
a
high
couple of
ceiling
times.
there. You wouldn't say that he's nailed on for a clean or likely to get a clean, but
No,
I think the points potential is there with Leno.
yeah, I think it's one of those where if hopefully United don't have their shooting boots on, but they're
Yeah,
peppering, they're hitting the target. And if you can pull off Leno is one of those. I think away at Everton, he got like a 12 pointer and he got a 10 pointer for me against someone I can't remember who. But yeah, it was just like save points, then he gets the bonus.
yeah,
And it's a big haul. I'm fully aware that, and almost, do I think they'll keep a clean sheet? Truly, probably not. But as I don't think Ariola will either. So yeah, I'm going for that save point potential, that bonus potential. And yeah, I could see Ariola maybe getting a 2 or 3 pointer. But if he does get that clean sheet, it won't just be a 6 pointer. It'll almost certainly be, a 9 or 10 pointer. So yeah, that's the sort of hope there.
right. Well, the rest of the team looks good. However, the defense, as you mentioned, there are benching headaches here.
There are,
It's really. Do you just want to go and just talk me through it, because
yeah,
it's a really interesting selection of five that you have. Really, I mean,
it is.
Cash and Cher are kind of, well, Cash picks himself right now. Cher is
Cash is
interesting
the only
in
one.
himself, but yeah, I mean, go for
Yeah,
it.
for this game week, Cash is the only one out of the five locked in to start.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
it's all about, if we hear really positive news about Estupinian, really positive comments from the manager to Zerbi, if we see him in team training, because it was like 7 or 8 days ago now, he was out on the grass doing individual training. So surely he's maybe been back in team training by now. I don't know. And same with someone like Udogi, he's flagged on FPL. He missed last game, but if Ange is being truthful in what he says, he was asked pre-match of the Spurs game on Friday, and he's basically said, "I just came too soon this fixture because Spurs played Monday then Friday, so that was quite a quick turnaround." But now Spurs, since that game, they had obviously no midweek game, but then they play on Monday night, so it's like a 10-day break between those games. So yeah, I'm hoping he's fit again. I'm gonna be looking out for training pictures there, and at home to Chelsea, I'm happy to play him in that one, given how attacking he is. So at the minute, I've lined up with a Stupinian starting, but again, it really depends on news. Udogi and Cash. I don't really want to play Shah at home to Newcastle, home to Arsenal. Although, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those games where when two fellow top, it's not as if Newcastle are just a mid-table team playing against Arsenal, likely to concede. It's almost like Newcastle can keep clean sheets against anyone, because they're a fellow top four side. So with the home advantage, can they win that 1-1-0? I don't see why not. Shah does have some attacking threat, as we've seen, so he's not the worst pick in the world if I have to use him. And even Taylor, who would normally be just purely on the bench, watching the highlights last game, maybe it was a one-off, but we obviously know he scored, but he actually won that corner himself by being basically the centre forward. He was the only player forward for Burnley, crossed it in and then got a corner. He then scores from that resulting corner, and then late on, he
Yeah,
crossed it in
very nearly
for
got.
Sander
Yeah,
Berge, where it should have probably been an assist for a handball. And then, if the penalty goes in, then Taylor ends up getting a goal and an assist. So I was sort of lucky and unlucky with
yeah,
Taylor.
it's true. And who
I
knows?
do
He could have
acknowledge
taken
that.
the penalty. He was feeling himself on that game.
Yeah,
Could have been an absolute haul.
yeah. So Taylor surprised me in terms of a player that I thought had no attacking threat, showed some last game. And it's if Taylor had any sort of difficult fixture, any away fixture, I know Burnley don't keep clean sheets and don't look like ever being able to get one this whole season, but it is Crystal Palace at home. They're without Eze, Olise. They don't really look like scoring many goals themselves. I know they got one late on against Spurs, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't score in that game. So can this finally be the game that Burnley get a clean sheet? If I was going to back them against anyone, it would be sort of the likes of a Palace at home or
Yeah,
Luton at home or a Sheffield United at home. So
yeah.
it's a decent enough fixture. At the minute, he is still third bench, but what I'm saying is there is an argument where you could actually say if Estupiñán's not fit, if Udogi's not fit, ideally I want to save a transfer. So do I just play Shaw and Taylor in that instance? That is something that I haven't ruled out.
100%. Like his predicted points are very, very similar to Shares. 3.4 predicted points, as you say. Palace right now not looking great going forward, and they are at home. And maybe Taylor does have some attacking output potential. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Before we move on to your potential transfers this week, I know you're saying you're going to roll, but we'll come to some future ideas that you might have.
Yeah.
Just a word on captaincy. Is this a conversation for you, or is it nailed on?
No, it's nailed on with Haaland this week. I know some people took Haaland out and they'll have Salah, so it's quite an easy choice for them as well, because even if you don't have Haaland, anyone who doesn't have Haaland surely has Salah, because that's where you'd have reinvested the money. He's got Luton away, which is also a great fixture. So yeah, I think it's fairly straightforward this week. Would I be surprised if Salah outscored Haaland? No, but I still wouldn't regret it, because I feel a little bit unlucky with Hart, because I'm such a Haaland fan. I know we all are, but some people are a little bit more loose with the captaincy on him. I'm very much, there needs to be a very good reason to take the captaincy off of him, which I felt last week was, and it obviously backfired. So yeah, Bournemouth at home for Haaland's nailed on for me.
Nailed on indeed. No love for Watkins this week. Forest away. Don't want to go back there.
He'll probably get a brace this week when he's obviously not captain. But no, there's other players in the team that could do well. Alvarez, I've got in my team at home to Bournemouth as well. Obviously, like I said, Salah away at Luton. I'm fully expecting a return there, but it doesn't matter. It's Haaland. It's Bournemouth at home. There's nothing to think about. Although I did tweet about triple captain in Leno, because he does have the easiest fixture this week, which I'm pretty sure some Man United fans would have unfollowed after that, but it was all in good jest.
Oh, there we go. Wes knows what he's doing with Twitter interactions, that's for sure. You know exactly what you're doing there, just looking for nibbles. I do want to ask you a little bit about I know, it's standard stuff. The one player that I can see that you don't have is Son. Does that concern you at all? Obviously you have Maddison there, but Son's in such good form, it's going to be a struggle for you to ever get to, really. The fixtures aren't amazing, so it's not one that you'd be like, kind of rushing to get to. But does that concern you?
Sort of. I had 2 free transfers last week, and I did take out Son with one of them to get Salah, and I took out Bruno for Palmer. So I lost 1 point in that move. Obviously, I could have kept Son and just done Bruno to Saka, which would have obviously worked out a lot better. But Salah with his fixture run and how well he was doing felt more essential than Son. And of course, now people might be thinking, oh, why did you take out someone idiot? But it's not me saying that I didn't, am I surprised Son scored against Palace? No, of course not. He's a great player and I'd love to have him, but it's one of those where you can't you can't have them all, as I always say in FPL. And I wanted Salah more for Salah's fixture run, because Salah's next 5, well, including the last game we just had, which was Forest at home, whereas Son had Palace away, which isn't a great fixture. Chelsea up next, Wolves, Villa. The fixtures are definitely better for Salah. I already had Maddison, and Udogi. So it was a case of, I would have loved to have kept Son, but the only route to Salah whilst holding Haaland, which obviously worked out with the Man United score. Yeah, the only way I could ever get Salah and keep Haaland was by losing Son, or take some crazy massive minus hit and end up with loads of players in my team who don't even play. So it just wasn't feasible any other way. So I'm happy. Just got to hope to get a bit lucky and he stays relatively quiet. And the likes of the other players in my team, I do better. There are routes back to Son if I want to save a transfer this week. Next week potential would be something like Alvarez and Diaby to a cheap forward and Son. But then I haven't got Saka either, and Saka next week has Burnley at home.
He does, yes,
and he's easier to get to financially. It means I don't have to. I think that those moves I just said were really tight financially. So, and when I say Diaby, that also includes maybe Mboma out instead, because his fixtures aren't good for obviously Liverpool and Arsenal. So yeah, it's tricky, but I think Saka's more achievable. Saka does have the better fixtures than Son. I do have Maddison, and again, who knows if Maddison picks up an injury, that's obviously a little bit easier to jump from Maddison to say Son. But yeah, at the minute I'm probably reluctantly going without Son for the next few game weeks. If, like I said, next game week, if I do want to be on, I can, but I'll probably end up getting Saka instead.
Yeah, I think that's sensible.
It's just impossible to
I think that's the thing.
It?
It is impossible, and unless you're on a wild card, you're going to be missing one of these key players.
Yeah.
Like for me, I decided that I just couldn't get Watkins, and you know, not having Watkins for this round of fixtures seems ludicrous. But yeah, you have to hope that even if those players do haul, the rest of your team, you know, matches them or even does better. We've seen with teams that don't have Haaland, for example, that they've done better.
Again, I was desperate for Salah, say 2 or 3 game weeks ago, but the only way I could have done it then, I think it was 2 game weeks ago, would have been a -4, and I'd have had to lose Son before a really nice home fixture against Fulham, and I'd have had to lose Bruno before Sheffield United away. And both of those 2 players, I think I said about last week, those 2 went on and scored well. Salah did very well himself, but even with Salah doing well, it was better keeping my original players. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's like you say, if certain players, if you don't have any team, you just got to hope for sort of damage limitations, and the ones you do have can hopefully match them and better them.
Now, speaking of transfers, to end off this episode, we've got your AI recommended transfers on screen. Recommended option, what do you think it is?
Might be to bank a transfer.
It is indeed.
I think the second one would be a defensive one, given that I've got 2 flags defensively and my front 8's looking pretty good. I can't imagine it's suggesting a transfer there. So yeah, I guess the other one would be something like, I think last week was Stupinian Simicast. It could be that again.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, nice.
And to be fair, like maybe it could have, you know, it's one of those where, again, you're probably not going to do that. It does make sense to bank. But
yeah, it's a
over
possibility.
The next 5, could it just be like, you know, if Stupinian is going to, obviously we don't know. We're going to be waiting for news. But yeah, if he's
I could have done that move a couple of game weeks ago, which would have probably worked out. But then who knows? I wouldn't have been able to maybe get Salah in, who's more explosive and maybe more desperately needed. Another player I just want to quickly talk about before we do wrap it up would be Darwin Núñez. What your thoughts on him are? The
thing with him, and I would love to get him because I don't have Watkins in my team. So my second forward slot is Julian Alvarez, who I like for this fixture, but afterwards I'm very happy to sell. I think he is playing a little against United. I wasn't completely happy. Exactly, he was quite deep, more of a creator, kind of in the build up. He wasn't really making the box at all either.
So it was frustrating.
Definitely a keep for the Bournemouth game, but after that I'll be looking to move him on. The problem with Darwin is that the fixtures just don't really align for a transfer in. They're not. I don't think they're fantastic up until game week 14 when they are good, and I think he'll miss that City game as well post international break, which you know it is okay if you have an 8th playing attacker like you, but I don't, and I don't really want to play a back 4 in that week. So
that's what's been putting me off. I've always liked, since the start of the season, I've been put off. Apart from Salah, I've been sort of put off all of them, like Jota, Luis Diaz, Gakpo, and Núñez. There's 4 of them sort of vying for 2 spots almost. But now it feels like with Luis Diaz's family issues, with Gakpo is back from injury now, but I feel like Darwin's maybe played himself form-wise into contention to be more of a minutes guarantee.
I agree. I do think he is more nailed on. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he's necessarily still going to be a 90-minute week in, week out sort of guy, but you know, he's so explosive and so dangerous that he can get points at the time. But yeah, I don't see a world where I will have him. But yeah, same as you. I'm holding this week, holding Alvarez for one more week. He then has 4 tough fixtures in a row, and I will move Alvarez out. Do I go to Nketiah for that one?
Yeah.
Who's, again, I get a bit worried about him because people think Jesus is out, just put Nketiah in, which obviously worked out really well last week. But if you look at everything, Trossard, you know, sometimes Trossard plays there. They've now got Havertz in who can play there. They've got options, is what I'm trying to say with Arsenal. They've got a lot of rotation possibilities. And even, like I said, last season, I think it was, Jesus got injured and he didn't even play all the games there. Sometimes Trossard came in. So just a little bit worried there. And I'm not sure on the full extent of Jesus' injury. So yeah, I'm not putting anyone off Nketiah. Like I said, I might even go there and game week 12 myself for that nice fixture. But yeah, it's players like him. And with someone like a Watkins, you know that you're good to go. He's not going to bring you a headache in the future.
No headaches, exactly. He's nailed on. You can have him for the rest of the season. You don't even need to touch that position unless something happens. That is the beauty of a pick like a Watkins, is that you can just set and forget. Even through the tough fixtures the City and Liverpool run, I mean, they're not bad fixtures for him. He could definitely score in that. And then if you get through that, after that, it's really good again. The City and Arsenal, you know. So I think it's definitely viable to bring in someone like a Darwin, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
The thing with me is that because I'll be rolling this week, you kind of miss the great fixture this week in Luton.
Exactly. and then you'd be bringing him in before Brentford at home, but
Yeah,
then City away. So like you said, it's either if you're going to get Darwin, do it now,
exactly.
or you then wait till Fulham at home around the game week sort of 14 mark, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I think.
So yeah, and yeah, I think it's my style of play where players like Darwin and Ketty, and even someone like Callum Wilson. I don't think I've owned Callum Wilson for ages in FPL, and he
No,
killed me at end of last
and the last
season.
season was crazy, wasn't
I
it?
think I had Isaac instead, who
Yeah,
got pushed out wide. Um, so yeah, maybe I need to take some gambles sometimes on these expected minutes worry players when they're doing the business. But yeah, it's just an interesting one about style of play, I guess, where if you have a bit of bravery or throw caution to the wind, it can obviously work out.
yeah. Wilson, I do like from 12 to be honest, because he's got Bournemouth
Yeah,
away, then a couple of home fixtures against Chelsea and United, but that's not
yeah, we
too
can't have
bad.
hard
We
these.
saw
Yeah,
saw
yeah,
what they
yeah.
did against
They're fine.
United. Well, was it
Yeah,
last night before? They just absolutely battered them. So yeah,
yeah,
if Isak is out, it looks good. It's fun, that slot. I do like it because I feel like the Watkins boat now is kind of gone. But for those with Alvarez,
yeah,
that could be a fun slot that opens up.
yeah. Maybe next
We'll
week
see.
then we do a little in-depth bit about Alvarez replacements
Yeah,
because
I think so.
Watkins will. Wilson, like you said, will be an option. Darwin could still potentially be in our thoughts. Going cheaper to someone like Nketiah as well. So
The only problem
yeah,
is
that's
next
going to be a
week
fun
it's
one.
going to be hard to sell Alvarez off the back of his hat trick. That is the issue.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know. It's
Well,
going to take.
hopefully you can get a hat trick playing deeper.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right, mate. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much as always, Wes. Thank you very much for your tips and advice.
Cheers, mate.
How many green arrows is that in a row now? Because you're starting to cook here, very
Um,
slyly.
I wouldn't go that far. I
Okay,
think
maybe not.
when it's I like the positivity, but yeah, when it's a minor green like this one, like this week was frustrating.
Two in
Just
a row.
gone,
So, well, the last one was
but
massive. The last one you halved your rank.
yes, but the one before I had a red before that, which was awful. So yeah, it's been a stuttering season. I'm still ranked outside the top 1 million, only just. We're about what 25% ish through the season, a little bit more. But yeah,
That's it.
plenty
Though.
of
It's not a
time.
lot. Yeah, plenty
No,
of time. I agree.
still plenty of time. Not panicking, but getting frustrated with certain elements of FPL. But that's why we love it. Would we love it if every week we got the highest score in the world and just was number one in the world every season?
Be
It would be a
boring.
boring game. So you've got to enjoy the crap times to enjoy the good times as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that for everyone watching, next week is one of those good time game weeks. And yeah, we will see you all for a game week 12 preview. And yeah, hopefully we'll both be on green arrows once again.